Hey, what's going on, y'all? Eric Mosley here with Code Red Conversations. Thanks for joining me today. Before we jump into the content today, if you appreciate videos that help you better understand the police use of force and police interactions in general, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on any of my future content. And if you could do me a favor, share this content, make sure it goes out to more people because I truly want to change hearts and minds. In today's video, we're going to be discussing, and I'll be showing you some video footage of a firebomb attack that took place recently at an LAPD police station. LAPD's Topanga Division Station firebombed in latest attack on law enforcement. Man, y'all, it seems to be growing more and more. Every time you turn around, there are attacks that are taking place against various police officers, police departments. People are becoming emboldened by this anti-police rhetoric that's being spread all over the place. I'm going to read some of the article and then we'll show the video. In the latest violent attack on LA law enforcement, the LA Police Department's Topanga Division Station was firebombed with an apparent Molotov cocktail early Sunday. Authorities pursued and successfully apprehended the suspect. An LAPD spokesperson confirmed to Breitbart News that the attack took place at around 12:55 a.m. Sunday morning. The suspect threw a glass bottle containing a flammable liquid at the station's front window. The act was witnessed by multiple officers who went in pursuit of the attacker. LAPD has identified the suspect as Jonathan Rosen, 24, a resident of LA. No physical description of the suspect was available. That's kind of interesting, but anyway, I'm sure we'll find out as time goes on. Surveillance video footage appears to show an individual approaching the exterior of the building and throwing an incendiary object at the front of the building. All right, let's show the video. My man got it already lit. Wow. Talking about bold. Talk about bold. Came out with the fire extinguisher, put it out. My man over there, officer, got his gun out. Smart. I'm not going to be walking out unarmed. Somebody's bold enough, crazy enough to do that. I'm not. It could have been a setup. That could have just been something to get a response out of officers, just so they can come out and shoot them. Totally wild. Let me read a little bit more, and then I'll give you a little bit more of my insight. First of all, I want to know what y'all think. Comment down below. What do you think so far? What do you think motivates people to do something like that? Do you think it's the anti-cop rhetoric? Do you think these people are justified in feeling this way, this hatred, to the point to where they're willing to throw an incendiary device, a Molotov cocktail at the police station? What do you think? Comment down below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. The incident is the latest violent attack on LA area law enforcement in the past 12 months. 2 LA County Sheriff's deputies were shot in an ambush while sitting in their patrol vehicles on September. I definitely remember that. And that really inspired me to step up my game as far as reporting on these incidents and as far as sharing the truth on law enforcement. Because, man, there's so many lies. There's so many stories that are being told and exaggerations and falsehoods that somebody has to be a voice. And I know I'm not the only one, obviously. There are people out there with way bigger platforms than me, way bigger audiences than I do, who have more knowledge than I do, who are speaking out on these things, and I'm thankful for it. But we need more people who are willing to step up and go against the grain and go against the popular narrative and call these people out for their lies. The deputies sustained multiple injuries, the one that took place in September, including shots to the head, but survived the horrific attack. And I praise God for that. Authorities later arrested 36-year-old Deontay Lee Murray on suspicion of carrying out the shooting. Yeah, and I haven't heard much about that since then. I don't know what's going on with him. I think I might have to check it out and see if I can find out some more info. An LAPD officer came under gunfire in September in the West San Fernando Valley just as he was coming off duty. The officer was heading home from West Valley Community Police Station in Reseda when a black SUV opened fire on him. And I don't know much about that case either. LA City officials have bowed to pressure from the left to defund the police, stripping the LAPD of $150 million from its annual budget. Now, I don't know if LA has went back on their move to defund the police, but almost every city that I'm familiar with that followed this crazy idea has backtracked and realized the error of their ways, which is something you think that they should have already known prior to even making that decision, that there would be negative consequences. You would think that they would have more sense than that. But I just saw recently Bill de Blasio in New York, that genius, he was looking for, I think it was an additional $150 million for the LAPD. Just ridiculous, just totally insane. But I know that there's so much rhetoric out there. I mean, you name it, from LeBron James to your mainstream media outlets who in general aren't willing to go against the grain, aren't willing to say, hey, you know what? The vast majority of cops are good, decent officers. Let's call out the bad ones. Let's look at the reforms that need to be made, but sensible reforms, not these radical shifts and transformations, cultural shifts and transformations, which will ultimately lead to more death, more violence, as we have seen throughout the country. Now, some people would like to deny those facts and try to place the blame on the rise of crime on other things. The most glaring reason would be the fact that we have a reduction in police, in law enforcement throughout this country. It's harder to recruit more officers. And in general, cops aren't policing as diligently. They're not being as proactive. That is the most reasonable answer for the rise in crime throughout our nation. There's been a lot of political motivation behind it. Political, academic, social. These people who are following along with these insane ideologies are the reasons why we're seeing this incredible backlash against the police, and basically assuming that the negative calls, the negative police interactions, or even questionable police interactions are the norm in general, completely ignoring the fact that the cops makes hundreds of millions of contacts with the public every year, and we only hear a fraction of a percent of those contacts. But yet people out there are still under the mindset that what we see on the news, those selected police contacts, are the norm. And as a result of that, the negative story, the bad story, is the one that sells, because people are drawn to that. Just like people are drawn to a car accident when they're driving down the road. They're drawn to that. The good cop who buys the bike for the kid, or who buys the homeless guy some food, or who protects a family, doesn't make the highlight reel. It doesn't make the top story. It just doesn't. So people assume that those selected news stories that these news outlets who are seeking ratings, because they have to sustain themselves. So they understand that people love blood, they love violence. They put those stories up and people react to it and more people watch. We aren't in the time and age where the media desires to simply be a beacon of truth, and those who seek to diligently investigate the information and facts and news. Now we have people who have a political motivation, oftentimes, as was recently stated in the Project Veritas video, where they videotaped and recorded a head in CNN who definitely spoke about how they have a motive. He admitted to the fact that they put out propaganda, and they admitted to the fact that their goal was to get rid of Donald Trump. And we're in a situation where you have people who have an agenda now. And the agenda isn't to share the truth of the news. And we as a society really need to understand that. We truly need to understand that because there's a negative result that comes from all this. And the negative result is the increased crime, increased death, increased violence throughout our nation because the cops are made to be the bad guys. No one wants to be a cop now. Who knows how this thing will ultimately turn out? But things need to change. Things need to change within our culture, and the police aren't the only ones that need to change. Once again, I'd love to know what your thoughts are, so comment down below. Where do you think this will all lead? Do you think this will ultimately lead to some type of police state where the federal government steps in? That's the path I think we're heading down. But I'd love to know your thoughts. And if you want more information on the discussion of police brutality, I have a video that I'm going to put the link right here. Topic is police brutality, separating fact from fiction. Very detailed, very informative, and it helps you frame this whole discussion and exactly how the media plays a role in what we believe today. So once again, comment down below. Make sure you check out this video. In the meantime, stay safe, God bless, and make sure you join the conversation.